Hey, welcome back, everybody. At the time of recording this, they had just shown off Youthberk Fantom uh, in the recent episode, and I believe this week is it 12 or is it 13? Set 13. Set 13 had just came out in Japan, and there's a little bit of pull rate issues with the moon, which is leading to a little bit of a negative controversy, but we'll talk about that. The whole point of this video isn't going to be negative, I promise. The other part I really want to do is talk about the four Phantom decks that we already have because I've been testing them a lot and I think they're very interesting. But so starting with the moon issue is it's hard to get the double rare moon, and I guess people aren't willing to settle with the rare moon. And if you're curious what the difference is, the rare moon doesn't draw you a card if you miss, like if you don't hit anything that you want to call to the field or that another moon card to add to hand. So this one draws you a card, this one doesn't. Which is it's whatever, to be honest, right? Like I could go for either one, but I understand like you do want to maximize like the cards you're playing. The issue is you get like in a case in Japan, you get like 4 to 6 of the double rare moon, whereas you get like 18 of the rare one, which isn't great, but the pull rate was never going to be super great. So the question of is what can we do to fix that? Because a lot of people online are a little upset. I believe the thing I've seen multiple times is why are we spending 40 a copy on this double rare moon for decks that are not that good? Which I don't necessarily agree that they're not that good, but again, that's a different story for a different time, right? But I think I think the printing was a little bad. Uh, I'm hoping set 14 they reprint both of these in there. Not that that necessarily fixes the issue, but like we've gotta pump the reprints for this if we really want these decks to be played more, because otherwise people are just going to skip them, which is unfortunate because these decks are really fun. But that's kind of the whole controversy with it. There's not really a lot I have to say on it besides like the company needs to work on uh, their distribution of rarities in the set, as well as their just their future product in general. If you guys weren't there at the start of Standard, Standard started off as 8 triple rares a set, and then like I think there was like a little less double rares, but when you went through a case of it, it felt like you got like like 2 play sets of everything in the double rare triple rare slot, or at least like really close to, which I kind of miss that a lot. I like that we get like uh, in nowadays set design, we can get like multiple bosses or a lot more stuff with having extra triple rare slots and maybe double rare slots, but I don't think the maths out, and I think that does need to change. But that might be for when the not like reboot of the format, because they're not gonna reboot the format, but like the new series reboot, where they like we move away from divines, we go to like the next main character, and they hopefully change up their product design and with all new mechanics and stuff. That's what I'm hoping for or assuming. Don't take my word for if things are going to change or not, but that is my hope. But I want to talk about the Phantom decks now in the more positive side of this. We had about 4 minutes of not necessarily. I wasn't trying to be super negative, but like it can be a negative topic. So we had like 4 minutes. So let's try to balance it out with like maybe 5 or 6 minutes of just positivity towards these Phantom decks. So I have them ranked in terms of which ones I've enjoyed the most and which are which ones I've enjoyed the least to which ones I've enjoyed the most. And we want to get started with my least favorite one, which, mind you, is still a fun one. It's Blangdemeyer Phantom. So the thing about Blangdemeyer Phantom is he is, how do I put this? You're playing Ketterpile in a sense, which isn't bad, but it's not necessarily super interesting. But what is interesting is his kind of homage to his original form in the form of you're getting rid of 4 cards from your drop zone, and then on swing you're calling one out. It's kind of cute. I like it. I think it's really cool. This might be the first. Uh, how do I put this? This might be the first like Keter deck where I've actually been like not hating the Keter package because once you play the Keter package, like the Typhalt, the Saragon, the Nebulae Order, once you play those in like enough decks, you're kind of tired of seeing them. But this deck, I feel like it just kind of like fits in, you know what I mean, with what the deck's trying to do. Well, not what the deck's trying to do, but like the aesthetic of the deck. I don't know. It feels really weird, and I can't describe it. But this is like, if I wanted to play Keter Pile, this would be one of the decks I would play it in. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't touch Keter Pile. Uh, but this deck's super cool. It gets 4 attacks. It can do 5 attacks if you play Kybre. Uh, and yeah, it's actually a bit of fun. It's not the best, or it's not the most fun compared to the other 3 Phantoms because I feel like they're a little more interesting in design. Uh, but this deck is really cool, and I'm excited to try it out in person. Obviously, I've been playing it online, but going up next would be Magnolium Phantom. So the thing about Magnolia Phantom uh, is it's not like its Stokia counterpart in the form of your whole board is attacking. At most, you can get uh, 2 back row attacks and 2 front row attacks, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Uh, but the gimmick of the deck is basically back row attacks, and then she randomly becomes a grade 4, and the grade 4 part's really interesting. At least in my opinion, I think it's really interesting. Uh, you get you get a weird kind of. The old Magnolia wanted to keep everything on board so you could intercept with it or use it for attacks the next turn, but this one gets extra defense and bounces back cards, which is really cool. Uh, so this is like a more tanky deck rather than, you know, something like Blankdemeyer Phantom, which was just, hey, I'm just gonna like do 4 or 5 attacks, call it a day, like no nothing crazy, right? Uh, oh, important thing about Blankdemeyer Phantom, he heals too on Persona, right? That's kind of cool. Um, I can't believe I forgot that, but this deck has cool interactions, and I hope that it gets support in set 14. I mean, it probably will, right? But I think it's a really interesting deck to say the very least. Uh, I'm not normally a fan of Lyrical Monasterio, but I had to give this a try just because, I like Stokia, so I wanted to give Magnolia a chance, even if it was in another nation. Going on to the next deck. I enjoy this deck a lot. This is Alphard Phantom, and the thing with this deck is it's really fun. Like it's really funny too. I've always been a big fan of just being like, hey, big attack, show me your hand. Can you block this? If anyone's familiar with Dragon Ball Fusion World, that's like my favorite thing. It's just a big attack. Your opponent has to use as much as they can from hand to block it. Like it's super cool, to say the least. But he has a really cool mechanic with his damage, where like he has to have a certain amount of damage to get power. His grade 2 from the ride line gives you a damage and then takes one back at the end of turn. I think this deck has a lot of interesting applications in that form, and I hope like the next wave of support this deck gets, they sort of expand on it. You know, they get maybe something else that like gives you damage and takes away damage in a turn, or something that even like calls from damage or adds from damage to hand. You know, whatever they add, I hope I'm very interested in. But yeah, the the big takeaway is this guy is just slaps you for as hard as he possibly can. There's also a route you can take with this deck. I tried it for one game, and it's not like horrible, but it's just not as funny to me. Uh, but there's this one route you can take with the deck where, for his Phantom skill, you know, every turn you can just remove one moon just to give him a crit, so he's a crit attacker. It's kind of cute. I don't think there's a world where I ever want to do that, but if you're ever in like a bad situation, it is like a thing you can do, you know. But yeah, this is my second favorite one, 100%. I'm really excited to pick him up when he comes out. And obviously, I mean, I talk about Zorga all the time. I love this guy, man. You know, I've been a day one Zorga fan, so of course I was gonna like this deck. I think this deck can, similar to like Stokia's Zorga, this deck can only get more interesting based on what specific cards they print. So for like Stokia Zorga, it was literally like, well, what orders are you going to give us? Because that completely determines how things are going to go during our turn, what options we have. For this one, it would be, I think they're called Demon Beasts or whatever. I don't remember the official translation, but whatever they give us, we already got a card. We got, what is it? One that draws you a card and then counterblast to draw you another card. We've got uh, the one that gives 10k power and the one that gives crit. I don't know what else they could give us, but I'm really excited for them to give us more because again, I think this deck is really cool. Uh, there's just a lot of interesting things that can go into this deck by mixing a bunch of your uh, or by doing alchemics with your demon beasts and stuff. Uh, but yeah, this deck, mind you, this is probably which you guys might have guessed this from how I ordered it. This is probably the weakest compared to all three of these. You could argue that Alphard has a lot of weaknesses to him too. Uh, but Zorg is definitely probably the weakest link of all of these. But for me, this deck just kind of scratches an itch, and I think it's really just a fun combination of cards. The fact that you have the grade one that can like send any like unit from your deck to your graveyard, just to get the specific combo pieces. The fact that you can kind of rush with this deck because you couldn't really rush with original Zorga unless you really like built into it. But like this deck is just like out the box. It wants to rush you and do like little bits of stuff, you know. So I think it's really cool. I think it's a really fun deck. Um, and as I said before, Moon big issue. We understand that, but like these Phantom decks are so cool. Like I know a lot of people are gonna like be mad when I say this, but like I think if you like are willing to pick up these decks, I don't feel like you should feel bad about having to pick up the Rare Moon. Like yes, you if you want to play these decks to the best of their ability, which would be just if you whiff top five, draw a card. Like yes, pick up this double rare moon 100%. But like these decks are so fun. I'm like willing to, even if I whiff, just be like whatever. Like I'll just play this moon because it just does so much for the decks. You know, like I mean these decks are insanely fun. I don't know how else to word that. Like I've been playing these decks like nonstop. Mind you, there's like other decks in set 13 that are fun too. I love playing Animus and Bear Crea is kind of fun. I enjoy it, but like these Phantom decks have just been super fun. It feels like almost a more interesting version of the mask units, which is really hard to say because there's a lot of interesting mask units, but like these decks feel super fun and like interesting. I love them, man. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. Just a little, talk of Phantom units and the Moon controversy. I hope you found this interesting. If you do, uh, obviously I'm gonna record more stuff like this, and I'm also gonna get back to deck profiles soon. There's random bits that I see online, and I'm just really interested in talking about. So I appreciate you guys listening in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.